Good evening, welcome to the Donny Chain Gang. My name is Matt Payne. I'm going to be taking you through all of the action in what is a scorching hot London at the moment. It's scorching here in Sheffield where I'm based. Fortunately, my studio, you might be able to see the domed ceiling above me. That's because I'm in the cellar. In fact, it's no beer cellar, although there's no very much beer in here since about 1870 something or other. Not quite sure exactly what that is. I might do a bit more research and find out, but the good advantages, designed for beer to keep cool, keeps me cool as well. Not everybody able to use a headwind. In fact, if I use a headwind, you won't be able to hear much of the commentary on the way through. They are that powerful. And definitely when you link them to your heart rate, whereas mine's going to go through the roof on the way into the finish, and that's going to be really interesting indeed. Going to be good to see who has made it and just how anxious people are to kick on today. Remember, we were here on Tuesday and I was taking you through the action in Yorkshire on the World Champ Circuit where we saw Matt Taylor putting some vicious attacks and actually go clear to take the win from two riders at the end. That's a very hilly circuit, very different to the London circuit. Let's show you what we've got coming up in London before we bring you some of the riders. So first of all, let's bring you the map. This is absolutely critical. So here on the map, as you can see, the blue dot just working its way in on the red section. That's the lead in until you go through the green square of the Mall. Up Constitution Hill, and then a U-turn back down around Buckingham Palace, round by the river, climb out from the river, quick dip under the underpass by the corner of the Hyde Park before running round into that sprint finish. Now the lead in is 5.7 kilometres or 3.5 miles. The lap length 11.6 kilometres, 7.2 miles, with an elevation per lap of 45 meters. That's 148 feet. Importantly for everybody, it's 230 XP points on Zwift as well, so it's going to add to your scores on the way round, whether you're doing one of the challenges like the Tour of Italy, California. Not so much height gain if you're going to go for the Everest and get 50,000 meters in. Now, critical to the course though are the slight raises and drags on this. The plan being that today we're going to set off and head out on circuit, keeping it 2.5 watts per kilo for the leading and the first lap. Into sprint 1, everybody contesting sprint 1, then regrouping afterwards. Lap 2 is going to be at about 3 to 3.5 watts per kilo. Into sprint 2, then it's flat out. Top Gear rules, every man for themselves. If somebody gets dropped, you'll leave them behind on the way into the finish. And that's critical when you look at our profile. You join the circuit, you'll see there is a little Y section like it's laid on its side, so you can see it running from right to left. There's a very small horizontal section in the central top third of the grid of 9. That is the mile. You go up to the left, drop back down again, and then you take the right hand forward and go round the circuit in a clockwise direction down to the Houses of Parliament and along the riverside, and that is all of the right hand side of the map and all the way underneath the bottom heading towards the Veloviewer. We've got to say a massive thank you to Veloviewer. The guys at Veloviewer are absolutely superb, used by pro teams everywhere. Make sure you do get on their site, make sure you get onto their website, look at these. We're showing you a static image. You can zoom this, you can move it up and down in 3D, you can see it in 2D, you can transfer it onto the map. It's fantastic resource, and a big thank you to the guys at Veloviewer, and always great to have them on the map. Now, as you go up along past the Veloviewer logo, you'll see you going up. There's a little hairpin turn. Round those turns, it levels off, but it's about 2% on the run in there. It goes up to 4%. You can see on the left-hand side of the map there. That takes you up and then drops you down the underpass at the end of Constitution Hill. That dip and then the yellow climb up is where it traditionally breaks apart before diving down in towards Trafalgar Square, and that's at the join of the three sections of course come together to go under Admiralty Arch into the sprint. Big splits always occur on this course. Now, let's see what Russ has to say. Let's see if he's calmed down after getting himself dropped last time out. So we're going to give Russ a shout. Let's see what Russ has to say and whether he's recovered. I think he's had a bit of a busy day out. Russ, how are you? Now then, how are you? I can hear your headwind from Wahoo blowing in the background.
Well, I think I might be in a bit of a bother if I didn't have that tonight.
Yeah,
just getting up to 29.9 in my pain cave, but It doesn't feel like warm. It's like I said the other day. He's blowing me backwards into the other bedroom.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. We're on about 2.5 minutes to go, and as we would have expected, numbers a little bit lower tonight, and that might well play if everybody's going to sort of try and keep together for the route. I've already explained what the plan is. Have you got any? Have you got good legs to be able to sort of shepherd everybody together? How are you feeling?
Not at all, mate. I think I left him around the back end of Barnsley Moor on Maxi or something. Got a call from Swift here. They come and get your kids on. You're coming out and boat racing with me. I don't think I had an answer to it really. He rocked up, knocked on my door, and that was it.
Excellent.
He kicked my head in. He did a 40-minute session. Then he came home, changed his TT bike, and went out on the road. So.
Wow.
He's going well, mate.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we'll see if that was just a warm-up for you or whether it's got your legs going. We're going to let you dive back and get everybody up and running. Looks like we've got Mr. Bolt here as our red beacon, as our sweeper as well. That's what we want to see. Excellent stuff. Good luck, Russ.
Cheers, Martin. Thanks for doing some typos on screen, mate. It's
well, yeah, there's plenty of typos if I'm not careful, if I'm trying to multitask. So, good luck, mate. We'll catch up with you soon.
Well, thanks a lot.
So, Russ Downing there, the ride leader. You'll see we have two of our beacons on screen. You can see the yellow one above Russ as we go into that final minute. You can see the red one is above Martin Bolt. He is our red beacon, our Lanterne Rouge. He's the guy who's going to sweep everybody up. It's first time out on it on Yorkshire. I mean, what a course to be sweeper on. However, hopefully a little bit easier today. Now we're going to watch Russ go out from the start, which means we're going to just drop across as we go into those last 30 seconds. So make sure you got plenty of hydration. I've already got mine. OTE here. Massive thank you, guys. You have been keeping me cool absolutely in this weather. Make sure you've got some fluids on board. Make sure you're settled in, ready to go. We're into those last 20 seconds. Even Russ is getting ready to go. So we're going to bring you all of the action. Make sure you keep yourselves fueled up on the way through. We're going to watch them set off as we watch Russ here on the screen. We're going to make sure we get him and Tom Bowring on the way out. In fact, I think we're going to be watching Russ. It looks like Russ taking a little bit of a slow start on here on his way out, and that is an interesting move by him. Just dropping in behind the red beacon, just a delayed start for Russ, and you can just see all these riders riding out. We're going to jump across, I think, to Martin. He's our red beacon, so we'll drop up above him and see where Martin's managing to get himself out here. So as I concentrate on getting the camera angles right for you, enjoy this. Let's get straight out onto our main screen, out onto the action as the riders head out around the Greater London Flat here, heading out along the start leading. Remember that leading, it is just over 5.7 kilometres. Okay, Martin sitting at the back here. If we drop into the trying to jump back in again, tiny technical issue on the way through then. It's the wonders of modern technology. Hopefully got a secret weapon to address this though. So here we go, our riders are out on the circuit. It looks like Mr. Nelson just getting himself back on board. One or two people just getting a bit of a slow start. James Allen is in there. Standing line of Chef Rate just working his way on the back. It's about 4 seconds off the back there. And I think he's going to close that down. Him and Curtin at 3 seconds, in fact. 4 seconds to Mr. Borelli. So Stefano Borelli, I think, just jumping in a little bit late there. To be honest, I didn't see Mr. Borelli in the group initially. So I think he's going to be coming. So just seeing Stanley Line come past Martin Bolt there. Martin with the red beacon in the orange, white and black kit there. So So our riders are looking good at the moment. So remember, you can just see the typing on the screen. The riders are making their way along, and looks like Yellow Beacon up the front is Russ. Red Beacon at the back of this group is Martin Bolt. Mr. Borelli just being distanced here a little bit. He's kicking out 3 watts per kilo. He needs to keep that pace up if he's going to jump on the back of this group. Looks like we've got Dean Downing in the group tonight. So Dean practicing what he preaches and getting the legs into gear. Mark Thwaites in this group as well. Andy Roach. Andrew on a great mountain bike ride. Some great pictures from his mountain bike ride up on social media. Yes, very jealous of the view, Andrew. I know you're going to be catching up. Good to see the Turnbulls are back here as well again. Andy Bishop's on the ride as well. Good to see Becky Story. So Becky is absolutely flying on Tuesday. She's going to make this stick. Brixton Cycles ride in here as well, and that is Vasia Kuzak. And Vasia, I'm going to have a phone call with you one of these days just so that I can practice getting your name right. Damien Clayton's on the ride, and good to see Damien, who's going to be one to watch definitely. Tom Barron's in. Joe Tindley is here, fresh from riding on the women's tour. And the women's tour, very interesting to keep an eye on and watch that. As we're just watching from Mr. Bolt here, as Dean Downing, he's the rider in the green just off the back, but this group just about holding together with Mr. Borelli, just the only rider really distanced off the back. Now, if you're new to Zwift, if you've not seen the format before, you've got a really complicated screen if you don't know what you're doing, but really it's dead simple. Even I can operate this when I'm riding on the bike and breathing out my ears. So if we start on the top left of your screen, there's a blue square. That blue square is the figures coming out of Martin Bolt. So at the moment, his heart's beating at 120, 129 beats per minute. He's revving at about 68, 69 revs per minute and kicking out 150 up to 200 watts. Currently just seeing about 220, the maximum number. That is live watts as he goes through. Now, looks to me like 1 or 2 riders with some tech issues just being dropped off the back of this group a little bit as we run along the embankment here. I think Russ is going to be trying to pull them back together again. The group is getting a little strung out in front of Martin Bolt. We're just going to shoot around a little bit and just try and take a little bit of a look. Oh, looks like Oxenham, Downing and Borelli coming back. So Dean going back for Borelli. With Oxenham, 2 very strong riders, as we know, former, of course, national champion Dean Downing, and Mr. Oxenham of the Zodiac team. He is one of our regulars on the chain gang, doing a great job. So great stuff. Good to see the teamwork in action. Martin, our sweeper, just at the back. Let's jump across to Russ. Here we go. In with Russ now. Now on your screen, you can just see that the numbers have changed because we're now with Russ, and his numbers are up on the top left side of the screen. 195 watts or so. Just to the right of that, as you look at the screen, is a big white bar. You've got the speed, 49 kilometers per hour at the moment, 3.5 kilometers covered, 18 meters of ascent done, 5 minutes 29 of riding. Tells you who we're watching, and that's Russ Downing. And it also then leads you across to the top left hand side of your screen, and that is our map. Now we've got 3 map views we're going to bring in. At the very bottom of the map view, you can see there is a slight contoured profile. That's a profile of the entire circuit, including the King of the Mountains. This changes, and not too relevant tonight because it's relatively flat. Currently looking at the map in 3D, and you're going to see our riders come in, and they're going to take a right-hand sweep, and you'll see them hairpin the way round that bend. So as the lead purple dots go round that bend, you'll see that the map is going to change as Russ, who we're watching with the yellow beacon, comes into that point. And the 3D map allows it to shift round, and you can see the map just spinning. The gradient of the ride going from 4 down to 3, and it's soon going to be down to 1% as they go onto the straight before the straightaway. So you can just see them come around that turn, heading off down. It also allows us to take a little bit of a look at the group. You see well strung out here with Russ just sitting nearer to the back of the group. If we zoom out, you can see where they are relative to the whole of the course at the moment. So still on that run-in, they're going to go around that U-turn at the top of the map, around the little triangle, and then onto the straight for the first time. Now, directly below, this is the big careful one to watch when you're racing. This gives you the riders and the time gaps from the rider in blue. We're with Russ, his yellow beacon. He's kicking out 3.5 watts per kilo. He's at 4.4k, as all these riders are. So he's just taking a look up the road. He can see that in front of him there is a group just starting to split and go clear. He knows in front of him who's in the group with him. He can also see that the group at the front is just starting to split up. So he can see in front of him Joe Tinley at about 1 second, 0 seconds as Russ just starts to push up. I'm going to jump in with Mr. Kaplinski as Russ just takes a little bit of a run up to the front. He's working his way up to the front of the group. We'll stick with Carl at the moment because that allows us to take a little look as they come under the classic banner. This is the red banner on the run in, and this means that they've got 1k to the start of the circuit proper. This screen lets us see who's in front and who's behind. Everybody together looks like V-Bikes, Victoria Chavaria in this group at the moment. Most of the group sticking together as they go up the climb. Not too many people being distanced in that group, all homogenising together, which is what we wanted to see. One big group of riders on the way down and in towards the Mall. Now they're going to go in and underneath Admiralty Arch. As the riders come in, they're now joining the circuit proper. And here we go. This is the run in towards the sprint. Worth watching. If you look on the screen, you're going to see all these riders on. You can just see Russ up near the front. This is the first run in. We're just keeping an eye on Carl Kapinski sitting at 3.4 watts per kilo. This is the watts that you generate divided by your weight in kilos. Means if you're little like young Mr. Turnbull, who is seen on here, his watts are going to be slightly smaller, but his weight will be substantially less than my 85 kilos. So he's going to kick out some really good watts per kilo, whereas the bigger riders, they can generate more watts, but when you go to the hill, the watts per kilo is critical. Zwift analyses that, works out the speed up the hills. It also analyses the aerodynamic drag, which is why it takes into account the height. If you look on the screen, across the bottom, the most important information are sponsors. Far left hand side, Grand Tour Coffee, got my espresso on the go already. Halo Wheels, of course, underneath Russ and the guys down in cycling and on Russ's bike tonight, which is a Pinarello. Pinarello, long-time sponsors of Russ as well. OTE here, fueling up the riders and myself with hydration tablets. They're in much use already. And as you can see, this group going through, just about holding all together. I'm going to take a little bit of a flick around. And that group just about staying together. A few people just disappearing off the back. We're going to try and take a little bit of a look back down the screens here. Let's see how far back down this group we can go. As we go around, we're just going to roll around McInnes here. And you can just see a few people off the back. It looks like Dean is sitting at about 7 seconds here. So this is Dean Downing. He's at 7 seconds. Stellingland 2 seconds behind him. Dickinson 2 seconds behind him. Reading down the right side of the screen. And it looks like Borelli at 28 seconds. And Martin Bolt, our sweeper, currently sitting at 1 minute 10. So Borelli not going to make it on to Dean. Dean doing the job of guiding people back into the group. And as we take a little look up at the front, it looks like Dean is about to make contact with the back of this group as Kai Morris goes flying backwards. Not good that. I think a drop out of power, 0 watts per kilo. Now he's starting to kick back up again. So Kai just struggling. Just seeing Dean here putting out nearly 400 watts in his attempt to get back onto this group. So just taking a look down now, 1 or 2 people going down. If you look on the map, top right hand side, you'll just see Martin Bolt's chevron coming up towards the beacon in the opposite direction. You can just see the pillar up above the top of Martin Bolt. Now, the one thing we haven't told you about on the screen, this is our sprint screen. So this is the screen that tells us who has done what. So Bennett leading with a time of 11.20. Dean, the rider we're watching here, 13.23. Looks like Story has gone through with a 13.19. That will be our women's fastest time of all of our riders. These riders all starting to regroup, the majority of the group holding it together. And the instructions today, if you didn't catch them at the start of the show, 2.5 watts per kilo for the first full lap. And the idea of that is to keep the lid on it a little bit longer tonight because it's very, very hot out there. We don't want anybody flaking out and falling off their Wahoo trainer and hitting the deck. So most of the group together, only 1 or 2 riders being distanced. What will happen, they'll coalesce into a group and they'll try and ride into the finish as a group together. Meanwhile, most of this group staying together. Just zoom in a little bit more here, in fact, and we go up to our camera shot over the top of Dean Downing. You can see the pack pretty much all together here. Now, some very regular riders in this group, and we mentioned Story already. We're going to try and jump in with Story, so bear with us as we do. It is going to be a little bit tricky because it is so busy in that pack. So Story is our rider in the centre there. We're going to have a little bit of a spin around. So you can see the rider in the purple in the middle there. And that is a Story. Story's the rider we're watching. There's a reason we're watching Story. Our green jersey wearer, the fastest sprint so far. He's also very handy up the hills. But he's got Joe Tindley to contend with this week as well. Joe, super quick sprinter. A really class rider, improving all the time. One of the regular riders in the Downing cycling camp as well, in the coaching camp of Downing cycling, and certainly it looks to me like Story riding well here. Nice speed here, and looks like nice set of deep rims on that bike. I think that's going to be a set of Zip 808s in there. So Story just working away through as the camera jumps up above the Houses of Parliament. So they head down. So Story leading out the women's sprint at the moment. And good to see Matt Winston's back, the DS for the Sunweb team, and making it to the road once again and getting quicker and quicker each week. He was really good, Matt, on the ride up through Yorkshire. Those hills are clearly suiting him as he came over the border from Manchester, the neck of the woods. Other riders to keep an eye out for. We're going to watch out for our rider from Brixton Cycles. Now this is Kuja, who's just a little bit further up the road than Carl Kopinski, who we're watching now. We're just going to try and jump in with Joe Tindley. Not as easy as it sounds. So we try and make our way in. So here we are. This is Joe. So we're going to go up above Joe here. Now I suspect Joe, if I'm not much mistaken, will be in the green jersey, just moving away through with the orange helmet. So let's see if we can zoom in on Joe. There we go. That's Joe in the green jersey there, riding on the white Zwift bike. It's actually alongside Cusack, who's got the Bumblebee on her back as well. And this is Joe Tindley, just kicking out 184 watts, making her way up towards the front of that group. And if we zoom out, you'll just see Joe rolling round up near the front of that group as they make their way up that straight as well. So our riders well and truly underway onto the circuit, heading out and round. If we zoom out on our map, you can see they're just going to run their way along the side of the embankment at the moment, heading out and past at the moment, on the way past the MI6 buildings very shortly. Not that I told you that. Told them coming after me. So out past the MI6 buildings and heading out to the set from one of our Bond films on the left hand side, just on the other side of the river now, which is the infamous one where it was rigged to blow up. Might even be able to remember the film if I think long and hard enough about it. It's that many people in lockdown been watching box sets. I haven't done the whole James Bond box set, not even I'm that sad. So as we head up on to the run off from the river, riders making their way back in again. Looks like Andrew Roach is in here at the moment. Now looks like Ted's on the bike. Good to catch up with Ted on the Facebook page. Affectionately known as my Uncle Ted. I'm not quite sure where we ended up getting to my Uncle Ted from. My Uncle Ted actually was a Special Forces soldier for his sins, and definitely has some very tall tales to tell, some of which were actually true as well, quite scarily. Ted, this is my other Uncle Ted, in with this group, kicking out nice 219 watts, hit 220 watts, great revs, 108 revs per minute. Now Ted will be on his Tron bike. He has offered to lend me this on the way through, and you can just see Ted in the blue there with the purple Tron wheels underneath. And this group is working really well, taking along a nice 103 revs per minute, 135 beats per minute, really low, plenty more in the tank there to come. Ted with that purple Tron bike just dropping towards the back of the group. Now looks to me like these riders are just regrouping here, just seeing Russ and Dean Downing making their way back into this group. Looks like Shaw of the Sitwell Cycling Club in that group as well. Rutledge is in there. I think Adi Dent is in this group. No. Millie Skinner. Millie is not in the group, not riding. I think she's headed down to the south coast, not because she's joining the Mad Mob down at Bournemouth, because she's had to go back down to uni. And remember, a lot of these riders who are in full-time education or full-time work. They're not pro riders, but we usually manage to get one or two of our pros in here. And looks at tonight, those riders just hiding away in the pack, not showing their name too much at the front. Damien Clayton, one of our very fast riders in this group, riding for the Ribble team. So let's have a quick look at Damien. Could be one of the men to watch, going up to the very front of the group, right at the top of the screen, with everybody behind him. So Damien Clayton leading this pack out. He's our rider in the blue of Ribble, and just dropping back into the group once again. So things nice and steady. We said a roll round at 2.5 watts per kilo. We're going to take the opportunity to take a little bit of a look back as we start to just drag our way up onto the climb. We're going to take a little bit of a look back through and see just where the guys are when it comes to the circuit. Like most of our riders together, just taking a little bit of a look back. Looks like Stroh McInnes and Martin Bolt at the moment, sitting about 3 minutes back. Jack Bennett and Carl Johnson sandwiched in no man's land between our Red Beak and Martin Bolt, but they're the only riders who are not actually in the group by the look of this. It looks like 4 riders not in the group, and that is good going when it comes to the group dynamics. Looks like everybody looking after each other on what is a scorcher in London. The scorcher pretty much around the country. Just going to take the opportunity to drop back to some of these riders. Just going to go take a look at Stroh, who's out on the course. Looks like Stroh, looks like mechanical problems for Stroh. We're going to go for our next rider up on the course, and I think that is going to be Jack Bennett. Jack, let's see if Jack's riding. Jack is riding, and Jack at the moment riding Bennett, the cycling Dane, on his way riding at 2.1 watts per kilo. One of our regular riders on the chain gang, and just making his way up there pretty smooth at the moment. And tall rider Jack coming in 188 centimetres. That's really quite a tall rider. You can see that in the shape. The avatars have a variety of sizes. They only have about 4 sizes of avatar in terms of height, but in terms of calculations, it's all done on the exact size. We're going to shoot across to our next rider out on course. This is Carl Johnson. Let's take a look at Carl. So here goes Carl Johnson. Carl riding the GCN Kit 808 on his bike as well, on the Zwift bike there, the Zwift Aero bike, the black and the blue bike here. So this is Carl. He is the last rider sandwiched in no man's land. He has got Bennett behind him, but it looks to me like the group is the next group up the road. So let's jump in with them, and let's see who's going to be up near the back of that pack. I think it is going to be Stanley. Stanley coming in at 6th, and he is our rider. Here we go from Team Sheffield, just being distanced here off the back here. So we're just going to see Stanley just being distanced a little bit here, and just dropping down the what's not the deepest of rims on that Cervelo bike, and that is going to cost him time. Now let's take a look up. It's 6 seconds up the road, and that takes us to Dan Shaw of Sitwell. He's got company here, and I think this group at the moment is starting to break up a little bit. Let's have a little look. 1 or 2 people just a bit behind here, and you can just see them riding in through as we go into the underpass. Now when things get hot and spicy here, this is where it really gets tough, as Killingsworth is just being distanced. Killingsworth just sitting about 4 seconds back down here, 6 seconds now on Shaw. We'll take a look at Shaw making his way onto the back of the group now. We're onto the climb. If you take a look on the map, we're just coming underneath the underpass at the side of High Park Corner. And these riders know this is where it kicks. 3 and 4%. Doesn't sound like very much, but if we take a little bit of a look up the road, you can see it is a long drag up here. And as you go up, the group will split as it goes over and crest. It doesn't usually break actually on the ascent, as you can just see 1 or 2 of those power-ups going in. And that is because the riders need to stay in the group. As you go over it, it drops to 1%, 0%, the gap opens up. Zwift drafts at 6 meters, and that means you can't allow a gap bigger than 6 meters to go between you and the rider in front. On a climb, 6 meters means you're relatively close. It's quite a long time gap in between. It takes you quite a long time to get across, but when you go up into the top of the hill and you go into the descent, and we're going to take a little bit of a look a little bit further up here. I think we're probably going to look at Mr. Smith on his way back. Smithy is a great rider to watch in this because I know he's likely to be round about in the middle of the pack here. So here we go. As you go up, watch what happens as we hit this right hand corner. We're going up at 3%, we're going to turn right and go down at 3%. Any gaps in this bunch are going to be exaggerated on the way round, and it looks sort of like it is Victoria Chiavaria just on the back of this group. You can see 1 or 2 riders distance, and the gap is now opening. That time gap opens up between the riders. You can see the back here now starting to get strung out, and that is quite simply because the speed has gone up. The gaps are opening once they go to over 6 meters. You can see it breaking apart at the back of this group. This can be decisive in the run into the finish, so you need to watch this when we come back in. If Russ holds the group at the front together, you may well find that that group at the front that we're looking at now are going to be joined by these riders behind. But we can see Dickinson cruising at 2 seconds, V-Bikes at 4 seconds. They were at no time at all coming up to the top of the crest. But what has happened is as they've gone down, that gap has gone. And at the moment it looks to me like it's Dickinson in no man's land on his own. Oxenham of Zodiac actually been distance here. He's got Victoria Chiavaria with him. Then it looks to me like Shaw is a little bit further back. And we drop just back off Shaw at that point in time. Now, we're going to see if these guys get back on, but the time is ticking away because as you can see from your map, we're about to come towards the right-hand turn in Trafalgar Square. It's a slight drop down here, -2% as we zoom in on the map. We're going to take a sharp right-hand turn here, back in Trafalgar Square, and this brings us in and on to that finishing straight. So as the bunch goes around here, you can just see going underneath Admiralty Arch, they're going to start winding it up for that sprint. We now have the riders who are distanced at 2, 4, 6 seconds, at 8, 10, 15 seconds. Now, can they regroup as they come into this sprint? The kick is coming in here, and I can see it starting to break apart. Let's get ourselves up towards the front of the group here, because these riders are definitely starting to try and kick on here. I think we're going to need to jump right up to Damien Clayton at the moment, who is really pushing on the power here. Clayton it is who's kicking in with Russ as he goes underneath the line there. Who's going to have taken that sprint? Clayton came in with a good time, but it's only good enough for 17th. And it looks to me like those times have tumbled. They have. Russ down has managed to get a very, very quick time indeed. We're going to just jump in with Russ, I think, on the camera view here, if we can, as we go to a regroup, because Russ is up in second place with a 10.27, Stanyland with a 10.23, and then it is going to be, look at that, Matt Winston, I told you he was going well, 4th place, 10.7, great sprint by him. Tom Bowering, one of the coached riders on the Downing cycling setup, coming in with a 10.83, in fact 8 times sub 11 seconds here. Andy Bishop coming in with 11, and look at that, Joe Tindley, we said Joe was going well. Joe is quick at 11.08, and she at the moment holds the women's green jersey, but it is going to be Stanyland who is going to be our rider who has got the men's green jersey. Just up with Karl Kaplinski at the moment, and that's just simply because he's going to allow us to have a little bit of a look back and just see how big this group is, see how far back off the next group of riders are. It's looking to me like those gaps have opened up substantially. Now, as this group starts to regroup going down, I think the watts are going to sit up near a 3.5 watts per kilo now as we start to run down and away from Constitution Hill and one of the long drags. As you look at the top right of your screen, you just see those dots are over there on the other side of the road, and you see these groups just coming in the opposite direction. We'll just pan around. I think Shaw's just gone round the back, and it looks to me there's quite a few riders sitting at about 11 seconds behind these leaders. So at the moment, this group continuing, people like Becky Story, Luke Stone, Mark Wise, Jason Sutcliffe, all in this group. Russ is in here, of course, as they go down this straight. But we're taking a look back now. And we're telling you those gaps were going to open up. And those riders that were in that chasing group, we focused on a few people. We focused on Daniel Shaw. Let's see how far back Dan Shaw is. Dan is at 46 seconds. 46 seconds is the difference between being on the group as you come out of the climb from the underpass, being distanced on that right turn to drop down towards Trafalgar Square. Now that shows you the importance of trying to be in there. Now it looks like some of the Chevrolet guys have gone back for some of the group behind, sitting a little bit further up the road, but this is the best bit about the chain gang for me. You've got Dan Shaw in here. We've also got Paul Dickinson from Bolsover. He's the guy in the green, matches my Bolsover kit I've got at home. Good to see Dan up here. He's down as Bolsover, Paul Dickinson on here. You've got Dan Shaw in this group as well. Shaw's from Sitwell. So you've got Sitwell's Dan Shaw. You've got Bolsover's Paul Dickinson. You've got the rider coming from Costa Rica, and that is Victoria Chavaria. Vic riding again. Make sure you follow her on Instagram. Honestly, some of the funniest things you're going to watch. And Vic, I hope you've got your popcorn ready for tonight, and possibly ice cream as well. Vic, of course, is currently under treatment for a popcorn addiction, and at the moment Zwift about to add to her Zwift collection of gadgets with a popcorn dispensing machine, although you don't want to tell anybody that because it's still in development. So Victoria riding with Dan Shaw and Paul Dickinson. They're in front of the group containing Killingworth and Johnson. Looks like Ian Taylor of 1080 is just a little bit further back. I'm shooting back early today to have a little look at the riders, because hopefully the group up in front is containing itself somewhat. So Ian here on his way through for the 1080 bike team, currently kicking out 2.7 watts per kilo. Could well close it down on the group in front. That group in front, Dickinson at 2.6, and it is Chavaria at 2.7, Shaw at 2.2, and these riders quite well matched, which is great to see out there. In front of them, the group is going to be Davis, and I think Davis has got company. Let's have a little look. He certainly has. So Davis is with Orrell here, and Rich Orrell in with Owen Davis. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a better shot of these guys on the way around. You can just see working well here together as we take a little bit of a look as they go up past the Houses of Parliament. Owen Davis is the Team Cystic Fibrosis team that's had the infamous Martin Datey as part of its squad in front of them. I think it's only 16 seconds up the road to Mr. Fulton, but the group currently a little bit further ahead, and this is the leading group. We're going to go jump up to the camera shot. This is what's left of the peloton at the moment. We're in with Mr. Oxendham, one of our riders who goes back and pulls riders forwards for us, as does Mr. Sutcliffe. These riders work hard. The crew from Sheffield working hard. Adi Dent just out in the group as well. Tom Bowering is in here. Looks like Richards is in here. Andy Roach is in. Damien Clayton's working well in this group. Matt Winston in this group. Mark Face. It really is a pretty select group of riders on the way up this straight. Let's see if we can jump in with some of our other riders who maybe not featured too much so far. Let's jump in with Gail. This is Gail Phillips. Let's see if we can get a shot of Gail's kick. Gail just sitting on the outside of the bunch here, and just going to take a little bit of a zoom in. So Gail on our way through, leading the bunch alright up at the front here, kicking out 2.5 watts per kilo, sitting nicely in the wheels there, and currently real slow cadence there, so very comfortable in that group, just kicking at 60 to 70 revs per minute, nicely sat in with the group and rolling away through here. So Gale just starting to get absorbed in the front of that group. I think we've still got Story in here from the Isle of Man, and Mike Clough is in here as well. We're just going to have a little look just to check whether we've got Joe Tindley in with the group still. Yep, Joe's still in here as well. Looks like Kujak's in the group as well. So it is a really sort of the riders we'd expect to feature to stay with this group and working their way in and through as the gaps open up behind. To give you some time checks back behind this leading group, looks like Uncle Ted's sitting down at 46 seconds. Dave Fulton and Rich Orrell currently at about a minute and a half. Owen Davis is a minute and a half down, and it looks like just behind then Victoria Chavaria, Paul Dickinson and Daniel Shaw. That's Dan Shaw currently sitting a little bit further back. Looks like Dan Shaw just been spat out the ground fight, so it looks like Dickinson and Chavaria pushing on from Shaw, leaving a little bit further behind, but Shaw's going to get company because Ian Taylor's coming up, as is Killingworth and Johnson. Bennett and Bolts just a little bit further back behind this group, as Russ with the beacon down on him, making his way. They're about to turn off the river, and that means that we're about to hit the drags that take us up the side of the road, take us up the hill away from the river. This is the right hand swing off the embankment now, and this group looks certainly like it's holding together quite nicely at the moment. Russ just controlling in there some pretty steady 3.5 watts per kilo on lap 2. That kind of was the plan, so Russ is going to be pleased with that, I'm sure. Just watching one or two riders yo-yoing about at the back of this group. Kujak and Story are riding together at the towards the rear of this group, just working their way back up a little bit further towards the front. The men in the danger zone, I think Dean Downing. Let's have a look at Dean out there on the course. Let's catch up with Dean. Now Dean is going to be in the green strip with the orange cap. This is the one that we always see him on the Downing club run that is organised on the Saturdays. I have the great pleasure of actually getting to spin the pedals round when we go play, and it looks like Dean just in there. It's got Mr. Oxenham is in there, and Tom Bowring just being distanced off the back here. Tom has gotten 0 watts per kilo. That's not what we'd expect for Tom. We do know he can kick out the power to get back on, but I suspect that is going to be a technical issue. May well be a break-in connection or the classic, oh, I dropped my phone. Now, into the U-turns, the gradient just dropping off here. Dean just sitting near the back. That's Russ with the flat cap just going onto the back wheel of Dean here. And you can just see nobody in sight now behind them as these riders come around and up onto the climb. So Dean, second to last the wheel, just about to be passed up by Russ, just hanging at the back of this group. Some would say that's how Dean rode most of his races. That's not true, and definitely not fair, as Dean moves his way up there, and just going to start, I think, to push on a little bit. He knows he's not going to break too much here, currently at 1% coming up. As we make our way up this straight, we're going to try and just zoom in a little bit more on Dean here. Not too much. It'll be quite scary, that shot. So Dean and Russ are just hovering at the back of this group. Bowring now back up 4.8 watts per kilo, but he's lost a lot of time here. He's lost about 1 minute 40. I think that's going to be tricky. So just taking a look, it looks like Dean just on the back here. Dean, of course, now getting a bit of a beasting from the kids when they go out on the bike. And good to see he's had to get the training in to stay with the kids these days. The riders in front of him at the moment all pushing on nicely, still rolling around at the 3.5. And what we're going to see him coming into the sprint. Now, one of the things we haven't talked about is power-ups. Power-ups are being used all over the Donny Chain Gang. The secret weapon, they're a bit like having an OTE gel in your back pocket just when you need it for the sprint. They appear on the rider's screen up between the watts and the distance, and that is a number of badges, and you'll see them coming through. You might see a feather, that is a weight reduction. Effectively it chops the weight down by about 10 to 15%, and that means that your watts per kilo, it's a bit like being 15% lighter. Don't we all wish we were 15% lighter when it was going uphill? Often one that you'll see on a climb rather than on a descent. It's very worthless on the descent. In fact, it actually costs you time. Now, if you go up on to the other power-ups that are available, you might see a van. That means that the drafting effect that you get from the rest of the riders is multiplied up. It's double drafting effectively. So if you're riding behind a rider, you could maybe be saving 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. Depending on the size of the bunch. Big bunch, 200 riders, you can virtually be pedaling doing nothing, just like real life. What you can't get in real life is a drafting badge. You engage that, the riders hit the space bar, hit the button on the companion app on Zwift, that then engages the draft. That means you get double the draft. Really handy on the downhill, really handy on the run into a sprint. If you're off the front, you want an aero badge. If you're feeling mean, you want a burrito, because that's a blocking badge. That basically, the burrito, means that no one else can draft you. So if they're sat on your wheel in a pair and you've got that, that is the best thing ever, because you can drop them. Not that I would really drop those at every possible opportunity much. Never drop a burrito, that's for sure. Can't go downhill as quick if I did. Now you're just starting to see, you can see the green feathers appearing there above the riders, and you can just see, I think Matt Winston is engaging one of them at the moment on his way through. A number going in up at the front. We're just going to zoom out a little bit because I think we're going to see a few riders start to struggle here at 3.5, 4.5 watts per kilo. Looks like that group's holding together. I think Winston just hanging into this group. Just about holding in. Mr. Clough is just about in there, and we might just take a little bit of a pan back here to see the damage being done. Looks like they're together. They're holding it together. Well, nicely done, guys. That's pretty smooth on the way up as you go up and through. So here we go. 1 or 2 riders still engaging those. Now this is where we saw that split last time. This is where we're going to see if that split happens again. This is where we saw the likes of Chavaria and Dickinson lose 2 seconds here, 40 seconds by the line, 3 minutes at the moment further back behind, over 3 minutes behind now, and that is because of the damage done round this corner. So here we go, into the corner we go. Dean currently hovering round about 4 bikes from the back. He's the 4th to last man. And looks like he's in the danger zone there. You can just see the gaps just starting to split out in front of him, and they're just opening up, and I think it could well be Rigby that's letting the gap go. It looks like it's going to be TDB who's just got the Tron bike in gear. Now Turnbull in the purple is going to have to work hard to go on. 1 or 2 riders just getting dropped off here, and this is where the gap goes. You can see that gap opened on the downhill. These riders are really working hard. Turnbull 6.3 watts per kilo. Phillips here, Gail Phillips 4 watts per kilo, kicking to get back into this group. Have they done enough? You can just see drafting going on there. Some draft badges going in, never mind the thumbs raining down on them. They're working hard. I think it's going to be Turnbull's just going to get himself on. It looks like Smithy's got bounced off the back. Is he going to make it on? Here comes Smithy onto the back of the group here. He's made it on. Has Phillips going to make it? She's just hovering at the back there. You can just see these 1 or 2 riders. The problem is it's now getting wound up for that sprint. You can see at the front it's getting very, very interesting indeed, because these riders are now heading in towards the sprint. They all want to be right on the front on the way through. They don't want to give anything to anybody else. We're going to jump across to Mr. Stanningland here. There's a reason for this, because he could well be the man who's going to take it on from the front here. The Chef XCC man takes the lead here. He's got the green jersey. He's our leading rider with a 10.23. Has he got enough now to keep this bunch at bay? You can see the drafts are coming in. Look at those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the vans over the top. That is double drafting. They're getting the effect. They cross the green sprint line now. The timer is rolling. Who is going to be able to take this on and take the sprint? I don't think Stanningland's going to do it now. Excuse me, Duncan is really giving it some here. 9.3 watts per kilo. But I think Fox may well have got a really fast time in there. Who's going to get it? Nobody touches Danny Land. And Stanley Land comes through 10.23. Russ Downing at 10.27. But the riders know now that they are really into the last lap. They've only got one more lap left to go. And this group, it is reforming here. One or two people just being distanced. So let's try and get you the composition of this group as they go down these straight. Staying on the green jersey is the man that we are looking at the moment. Joe Tinley's in that group. Tinley holding that women's green jersey. Stanley Land holding the men's green jersey. Stanley Land with a 10.23. Tinley with an 11.08. So our leading group, Oliver Sayers in there. Damien Clayton's in there. It looks like Damer's in there. Mark Gibbo Gibbons is in there. James Allen is in there. Carl Kaplinski's in that group. Alan Royals is in. Mark Wise is in that group. Joe Fox. Jono's in there. Simon Oxenham. Looks like Martin Rigby. Jason Sutcliffe. Brian Duncan. Mark Thwaites. Len Turnbull's in there. Alec Keane is in there as well. So Keane in this group. We've not had a look at Keane. Let's just check out Keane, who's sitting in the group here. I might have to just zoom up and around to try and get a decent shot of the riders. So Keane, I think, in the blue on the far side there, on that purple Pinarello with the deep envy wheels on as well. So Keane sitting in this group. Another of our female riders who could be in with a shout as we come into the finish. Got to stay in with that group nice and smoothly as they go down that straight. Behind you can see TDB, Smithy, Turnbull, Phillips all back, and that sprint did the damage. They nearly got on the back, but then they went through the sprint and the pace has stayed reasonably high. Behind Keane you've got Relish sitting on the back, and then it's going to be 35 seconds back. We're going to jump back to our chasing group, and I say group, it is riders in ones and twos. If you take a look behind, you've got TDB here, who's currently sitting 40 seconds behind that group. Then behind him, you've got Smithy and Turnbull on the way. They're about 3 seconds. I think they're likely to pull him back. They're doing enough watts per kilos. Then Phillips is going to be on her own at the moment. Gail Phillips just in front of Chris. And the Alliance MTB one man who seems to spend far too much time on his mountain bike, getting some great rides in. But they are now being distanced. And Luke Stone, I think it is, who's at the back of this group. So Stone with his new Tron bike in action, I suspect. As we take a little bit of a spin around. Luke looking good with those blue wheels on that Tron bike. Just rolling around as he moves his way up to Wasford. So it is Luke making his way up here. This group at the moment holding together reasonably well. Nobody's gone super early. Now, we've none of our normal superstars. A lot of the pros going out there. Damien Clayton, probably the biggest name other than the Downing brothers in here in terms of the men. In terms of the women, I wouldn't ever discount Joe Tinley from putting it in as his biggest sprint to take the women's run into the finish. She's certainly going to be up there, but whether she's got enough left, we'll see, because we've got Story in this group as well as Keane. But you just see the gap is just breaking. And just on that gap there, it's just opened up. Jono awake to the danger, as is Kaplinski. They come back up, and behind this group, it is starting to fracture. We're going to take a little bit of a jump back through these riders, I think, just to try and see where that group is going. And I think it's not too far behind Andrew Roach at the moment is the gap. So let's take a little bit of a look. I think Dean is in the danger zone here. So let's take a look at where Dean is on the back of this group. There he is. He's got one or two people now. A minute back. That's Turnbull and TDB and Phillips. That's a minute. And that is from getting distance on the straight and over the top of the climb. But you can see just in front, Rigby's there, Richards is there, Keane is there, Clough is there, the two Manx riders. Just seeing a draft coming in for Spencer here. And Dean's going to roll up. I think you can see the gaps are just starting to open up at the moment. You can just see the gaps are opening in front of Dean. Dean's aware to this and he's moving up. He knows he can't get caught if the split goes here. And you can see the riders who are struggling. They're putting in the draft at the moment. Sutcliffe is getting that draft in. He's doing it to try and get on the group. And that group is going away in front of Dean. He's got to get his finger out here. Come on, coach. Give it some beans. You need to be in there. He can see there's going to be a response here. He's on Sutcliffe's wheel. Sutcliffe's not going hard enough to get back on, and Downing now really is having to push on here. Dean Downing is going to have to show that he can walk the walk as well as talk the talk here. As they're starting to push in front, he's only a second behind, but this is painful to watch here. And he needs to really work this a bit harder. I think he's going to get himself endangered if he's not careful. Here he goes. He's on to the back of the group. He's done it. Has he dragged the group behind in? He has. So Dean has got on behind him. Sutcliffe and Keane are drafting the way on behind Dean Downing, using Dean's draft to get themselves on. Smart move behind him though. You can still see there is a little bit of a gap behind, and looks to me like it is gonna come back. They're working hard to get back on here. Clough gonna get back on. Rowledge is gonna get back on as well here, I think. So they're just getting on to the back of the group behind Dean Downing. Dean getting into the pack. Looks like nobody going up the road too early. Nobody doing a Taylor and kicking down hard at 70 watts per kilo at this stage. It's certainly warm outside, and these riders are going to be very warm now. Doesn't matter, even if you had a couple of Wahoo headwinds, the fan that is adjustable, you can actually program it. It connects to your system, and it will be linked to your heart rate. So the higher your heart rate, the more that it will blow, the bigger the fan will go. You can link it to the speed, the watts, all depends on what you want it to do and how you want it to kick out. Absolutely brilliant bit of kit. Match that to the climb, the Wahoo climb, which gives you the gradient and a good kicker, something like a kicker core. You've got an absolutely top flight setup. Always great to see people's setups. Don't forget, guys, get them on to the Facebook page. Make sure you get onto the Downing Cycling Facebook page. That's where we want to see the pictures. That's where all the banter is, not just on the Messenger tonight. If you fancy coming and having a ride and you're worried you're going to get distance, we've got Martin Bolt, Superstar Bolt, right at the back looking after our riders, and they're all forming in groups. Just seeing them forming as they go through the splits. If we have our pros out, you can have our Tour de France winning pros, people like Steve Cummings on the group. Steve doing a great job when he comes on rides, but everybody has to stay with him, and that's not that easy. People like Scott Thwaites, we've seen Scott win time and time again, putting some great rides in, particularly on things like the Innsbruck circuit with that vicious leg snapper climb. But the groups behind are all rolling. People like Andy Hawes rolling in with Victoria Chavaria and the likes. I think we had Mr. Shaw in there last time round, and they're all forming groups behind. You can see riders coming together in ones and twos, and that means that they are then getting the shelter of at least one other rider not doing all of the work. So here we go, 35 kilometres, nearly 36 kilometres coming to the 41k, and somebody's putting a little bit of pressure on up at the front of this group, and we're going to take a little bit of a sprint up the road here to see who it is who's giving it a little bit. It looks to me like it is going to be Damien Clayton who's on the attack here. It is Clayton, so we're jumping in with Clayton now. Here he is, this is Clayton, kicking out 6.9, 7.3 watts per kilo. He's got the gap, and the feathered flags are coming in behind Clayton here as they try and get up to him. You can see the aero bonus, the aero boost is coming in behind him. Sawyer is the man who's using it. He's kicking out 6.8 watts per kilo. He's fighting to get in there. All these riders are really having to battle to get onto Clayton's wheel at the moment. Damien Clayton on that Tron bike rolling his way through from the Ribble team, and you can see as he zigzags through here really nice and smoothly. He's looking very, very good indeed, but that gap has come down and it's Stanningland has brought the group back up to him. I think here it's a group effort. Stanningland makes his way up, and they're going to close down. The catch is about to be made here. Are they going to sweep by Clayton? Here they go. And you're going to come round him, and Clayton is going to get swept up in a big way here. He's rolling through the group here as they come around, and I think it's going to be Story who jumps around him next here. Now, this is the time to counter-attack. If you've got something left after this, this is the time to go. When you bring someone back, everybody's put the effort in to bring it back. If you've got something left, now's the time to kick. Russ just biding his time just at the back of this group, but I think that acceleration by Clayton has split the group in two. Yep, there's the gap behind. So Russ has made the gap here as has Story. This is now our leading group. The group behind have been distanced, and the gap back is 5 seconds back now to Kujat, 5 seconds to Roach, Bishop, Dench, Stone, Peacock's in there, Farmer's in there. It looks like they've got distance. Joe Tinley's been distanced here. She's at 10 seconds. So she's not going to be in at the fight for the win. In fact, it looks like Becky Story is the only one of our female riders to be in with this leading group now. So Story could have this wrapped up from the female point of view. And looking like she is going to be the rider to beat for the women. They've got to hope she gets dropped out of this if they were looking for the honours. But at the moment, Story, I think, moving well in this group as we roll our way through these riders. Just watching Stanilan. Remember, he's our green jersey holder. He's the man who's got the jersey rolling around at 328 watts. Now we're heading into the underpass. We're not going to jump back to the group behind because I don't think we can see them coming back in. I think they're now well and truly distanced behind the group with Allen and Downing. Yep, 9 seconds, 10 seconds, 14 seconds. It's going out. The winners of tonight's Dolly Chain Gang, the legendary Dolly Chain Gang, is going to come from this group. It's a very select group here. It looks to me like Jono leading them out at the front, rolling his way around. Russ is coming onto this group. Nobody watches. Watch for the flurry of power-ups coming. We're expecting to see feather flags. In fact, whatever you've got, you're going to be chucking it out there, whether it's an aero, whether it's a power-up, whether it's a burrito, a van, whether it's drafting. This is what the guys are going to be needing. There they go. First 2 feather flags going on. And look at that. Clayton had one in reserve. We're going to drop across to Clayton. Look at that. You can see it over his head. He had it in reserve. He saved it. We thought he used it in the attack. He's gone again, but he's not gone clear because look at this. Jono is working to get across. He's bridging the gap. He's at 1 second. And then it looks like Allen has used his up. He's at 2 seconds. He's on that Tron bike, and I think he's going to be closing in. So Clayton has thrown it out again. He's stamped his foot on the accelerator up that climb, that 4% climb. He's currently got 1 second at the moment on Jono. Across to James, who comes around the side. He's going to go over the top of him, I think, and move up. Curtains in there. But this is where the damage is being done. Now, can Clayton hold this? It seems incredible to think he's going to hold off that group behind. However, that gap is going to open. We're coming into that critical corner. Crunch corner. Coming up, this is the turn, this is the drop down. So here goes Clayton. You can see behind that group, it is in sight. But the gap has opened up. It was 1 second, it's now 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Can he keep pushing on? Has he got enough in the tank? He's a Brave Moon going early. He's got the Tron bike there. You can see it matches that Rebel kit at the moment. And he's now at 5 seconds over Curtin. So has he put the move in? He did it right. He put an attack in. He put a kick in. On his way through the U-bend on the way up towards Hyde Park as they came underneath the underpass. He was on the front. He kicked in the power up. That feather flag, he went clear and he got the gap using that and some serious kick. But the group behind have not given up, but it is a very minimal group who are coming in behind him at the moment. We're just trying to take a little bit of a look back to see whereabouts they are. Now you can just see them come. They're 2 seconds, 3 seconds. They've got to work together. They are not going to get Clayton back. Clayton's still got a kick in there, remember. Clayton, who's putting some fantastic performances on the road and in the crits, continues to work his way in. There you go, just coming down the side of Trafalgar Square now. You're just going to see we're going past the National Art Gallery. They're going to go past Nelson's Column. There you are, National Art Gallery in the background there. The National Gallery then round the back of the column. He's in underneath and he's about to go underneath Admiralty Arch with a 2 second gap. Now has anybody got the kick to stay with Damien Clayton? He has put in the move here. He's got the gap. He's at 3 seconds. Has anybody got anything to come round the side of him? I'm not sure that they have because he's now coming in. He can see in front of him. You can see where that gantry is, nearly 200 metres out. Here we go. He's going in. He's at 200 metres. And the group behind are working hard. Allen's the nearest rider to him. But it looks like he's not going to get him back. Damien Clayton is cruising his way underneath the gantry here. So Clayton goes in and through. It's going to be Alan who comes through in that second position. It's Oxenham, then Kapinski going through. And then it's going to be a jump back to Stanyland who comes in at the back of this group. So this was our leading group coming in and under the gantry behind them. Then we're going to jump back across. You can just see this next group coming in containing Story. Let's jump down to Story. What a ride by Story here. She came through. Remember, Story was the rider who had stayed in that group, and our women's leader and final leading a woman as she came in and through 21st in the sprint there. But what a ride there by Story, doing a great ride to come in and through the finish. Comes through in front of Kuzak, who comes through about 3 seconds down. Our riders now making their way in. We're going to jump back a little bit now to our riders behind. It's going to take a little bit of jumping just so that we can get far enough back behind the riders. So fantastic riding here. We're just jumping our way back the way down the straight here. Here we go. We're going to be following our riders on the way in to the finish very shortly indeed. So just taking a look back, we're looking for any of our key riders. We're going to see who's around and about. I think Andy Bishop on his way in. Let's say where Mr. Bishop is, as Bishop has come through. So Andy just coming to a roll down as well. We're going to take a little bit of a look back. Let's see who we can find a little bit further back down the course. Always tricky once the riders come through the line and rejoin the main group. I think the going to have to be a little bit of sneaky move about here for us to get there. So we're going to just jump back in. So I'm just going to run through. If you haven't got one of these, this is the key bit of kit, a companion app. This allows you on your phone, the Zwift app, to find Zwifters. So if you need to find somebody, really easy to grab yourselves one of these. Punch in, as you're going to see, we're going to take a hunt back for some of our riders. So we are going to look back for some of our riders. We're going to maybe look back for we could take a pick who we're going to go for. Let's go back for, who should we choose? So we're going to look for our riders a little bit further back on the course. Let's see if we can find any of our guys out there. Just watching HUD here on this. So just pick a rider, see if you can search them out on the course. So we'll see if we can see Mr. Bolt. He's going to be the last man on course. Let's look for Martin Bolt. Always helps if I can spell, doesn't it? So we're searching for Mr. Bolt. Let's see if this is Mr. Bolt who's out on course. Oh, I'm struggling to see Martin. So it looks like, might have spelt his name wrong. Should put Councillor down there. Then I would find Martin Bolt, no problem at all, I'm sure. Just look for the bling. Here we go. So you find him on the screen. I'll just show you the profile there. And just about getting without the shine off the lights in here in the studio. So you got the profile. We're going to find him. There's a little fan view. So we're going to hit fan view. And that will bring us Martin Bolt on the good days. Here we go. Minor technical challenge, but we've done it. So, tech sorted. You can see Martin on the screen. We're going to jump back into our main screen once again. So here we go, Martin on his way through. You see Martin is our last rider out on the road, our sweeper on his way in towards the finish. Still plenty of people out on course though. I think we'll dive right up to the front of the group and we're going to go have a look at Chris out on course in a minute, or Mr. Orrell. I think we'll go for Mr. Orrell. Here we go. It's just going to be distance. Now Orrell is in a little group here. They're just coming up to the top of the climb before the dive down towards T-square. So you've got a good group here. Just moving his way to the front, and that is Mr. Dickinson. Let's give you a shot of Mr. Dickinson here. So Mr. Dickinson, the Bolsover and District Cycling Club, BDCC club, in the green. They're just moving alongside and taking the lead in the group there. That is Victoria Chavarria, Victoria from Costa Rica, and is just out on the course, very, very close to coming into the finish at the moment. So here we go. Victoria just on the right hand side. Dickinson going through on the left hand side here. And immediately behind Victoria, this is going to be Mr. Fulton. So let's have a little check of Mr. Fulton out on the course here. We'll just try and get a view from this side of Mr. Fulton going up to the front there on the red bike. Just got the orange, white and black Strava jersey on there. And they're just rolling down now in towards the final sprint. With them for company, we have got Mr. Orrell as well. So going to be able to watch this group make the way down. These 4 riders. Paul Dickinson in the green, riding, one of 2 riders in the green, riding for Bolsover District. You've got Dave Fulton in the orange. You've got Vic Bites Victoria in the blue, the red in there as well. And you've got Rich Orrell as well. I think it is Rich, and just have a look at Rich as he comes through. So it is Rich Orrell there, just showing head there on the grey bike, making his way up. Dickinson slightly more hair on Mr. Dickinson, I think, and got the helmet on. So Dickinson with the helmet, it's Orrell without the helmet, it's Fulton in the orange, and then in the blue strip with the lightweight wheels, which I'm very jealous of. I've definitely got wheel envy of Vic at the moment. It is Victoria Chavaria who is making her way into the sprint. We're going to see who is going to take this as they come in. Who's got the kick? It looks to me like Fulton has gone to the front of this 4. Chavaria holding wheel 2. Then it's Paul Dickinson sitting in wheel 3. It's Rich Orrell who is in wheel 4. But Rich just moving up here. And it's going to be a power up coming, and it looks to me like Dickinson's put in the feather flag. He's gone to the front. He's got an 8.1 watts per kilo kicked in here. So it's Dickinson who is leading this out. He's going to take the sprint behind, though. It's tight between Fulton and Orrell. It's going to be Fulton who gets it underneath the gantry. So Paul Dickinson followed by Fulton. It's going to be Dave Fulton coming in second. Then it is Rich Orrell, and then Victoria Chavaria coming in and through. Going to jump back a little bit to our next duo on the way into the finish here. Watching Mr. Taylor here, who's got that power up in early, that draft power up. I think I'd have been waiting for that sprint. Maybe a mistimed hit of the button there, unless he was just fighting to get on to the wheel. That is going to run out. It's time sensitive. As our next 2 riders come in now, we've got Dan Shod. Dan is the rider from Sitwell CC, the man with some of the best facial hair on the ride tonight. He's got Ian Taylor, who's gone for the Sean down aerodynamic look now. He's used his drag to get past Shaw. He's not going that far. Shaw's gone for it though, and the Sitwell man has gone at 8.6 watts per kilo. It's going to be Sean who's going to go through here. So Shaw goes through, Dan Shaw goes underneath the gantry in front of Ian Taylor. And there are next 2 finishers behind them. It is going to be Mr. Killingworth and Mike Killingworth here. Now running in through the turns. He's going to be making his way. He's about 3 minutes and 3 minutes 15 out from the finish here at the Greater London Flat Course. A great night of riding from our riders. We see Mike just making his way in towards Trafalgar Square. So in summary, great night tonight. Really great work as a group, holding it together. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you if you've been in and joined the ride. It's been great to see everybody out working as a team, coming in and towards the end there until it started to get really ripped up. Massive well done to Damien Clayton, who really had it absolutely nailed for the Ribble team, kicking away clear and holding. Really was animating the ride from that final underpass in, and didn't think there's really anybody who was going to touch him at that stage. And as the rain falls in London, it would be falling a steam, I think, today. And I say a massive thank you to everybody who's been watching. Watch out next week. If all goes to plan, we're going to be able to bring you a little bit of an update, something maybe a slightly different when we hit next week. Our guinea pigs on the Downing Club Run could well be the first people to experience it. It's going to be a little bit different going into the future. Hopefully lots of improvements. Can't tell you too much for now, but watch this space. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you all of the action as we watch Carl Johnson now riding in towards the finish. He's just in front of our Lantern Rouge, and that is Martin Bolt, who's out on course as Martin makes his way in and along. I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, a big thank you to Grand Tour Coffee. If you need coffee, make sure you support the people who support the Donny Chain Gang. Grand Tour Coffee, to Halo Wheels, Pinarello, of course, keeping Russ out and moving day in, day out. A big thank you to OT, fueling us up, keeping us hydrated as well. Massive thank you to Wahoo, all of the kit that all ties together so well, and can't wait to get back on to the Turbo very shortly. Big thank you to HMT Hospitals, remember these guys who patched up Rusty, patched up myself on more than one occasion, and a big thank you to Mallorca. So thank you to everybody who's given us spot prices on the way through, to the Bad Company Brewing, of course, to OTE, to Muck-Off as well, who've added in prices, to Halo as well, and in fact everybody who's given prices over the course. Big thank you to Russ and Dean from Downey Cycling. Remember, Russ and Dean at Downey Cycling and myself, Matt Payne, bring you the Donny Chain Gang. We're going to be back on Tuesday. Enjoy the sunshine, make sure you keep it rubber side down if you're out on the real roads. From myself, from Russ and from Dean, a massive thank you, and we'll see you on Tuesday for the next of our Downing Chain Gangs, the Donny Chain Gang. Remember, links to join on the Facebook page.